According to the University of North Carolina's official website, one semester of in-state tuition costs approximately $24,120. To put that number into perspective, you could buy approximately 16,187 Cool Ranch Doritos Locos Tacos from Taco Bell, which cost approximately $1.49 a piece, and sound much more delicious. However, student athletes receive athletic scholarships worth this amount of money and more every day. In a 2015 New York Times editorial, the author claims that young people enticed by the fantasy that they can learn and play at a high level will continue to suffer the consequences. This author ignores the many benefits that student athletes receive, as well as ignoring the pressures faced by everyday students. In this speech, I will discuss the fact that college becomes a reality for many of these student athletes thanks to these athletic scholarships. I will also discuss the National Collegiate Athletic Association's commitment to improving educational standards for their athletes, as well as the personal responsibility of these student athletes to seize the opportunities that have been afforded to them. The author of the article ignores the fact that these athletic scholarships afford the opportunity of higher education to many students, and without them, college would no longer be an option. The New York Times article also challenges the quality of education that these student athletes may receive. Although the quality of education may at sometimes be questionable, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA for the rest of this video, awards approximately $2 billion to over 196,000 students annually. This kind of large support helps students achieve the reality of college. In a 2011 article, Mark Kantowitz, a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Student Financial Aid, found that from 2007 to 2008, 39.1% of all athletic scholarships were awarded to athletes with a familial income of less than $50,000. This is not a question of whether the education is of better quality or of lesser quality, but it is the opportunity at education at all. And I think that we can all agree that some education is better than none. Now let's look at how the editorial evaluates the response of the NCAA and why some of these judgments are unfounded and misplaced. The article claims that the NCAA is well aware that it has a problem regarding the academic integrity of its institutions. It also mentions the NCAA's current investigations of many institutions for academic dishonesty. However, the article fails to mention the steps that the NCAA has taken to improve the overall quality of education that student athletes receive, as well as the increase in graduation rates of its students. In a 2006 keynote address at an NCAA conference, Bernard Franklin, the NCAA Executive Vice President for Membership and Student Athlete Affairs, stated that 62% of all student athletes graduate from college, while only 60% of the general student body graduates. The NCAA has also increased its eligibility requirements for these athletic scholarships. From 1994 to 2003, the core curriculum GPA of incoming student athletes has risen from 3.18 to 3.34. This demonstrates the NCAA's commitment to the improving of student athletes' education. I've discussed the NCAA's integral role in the success of student athletes, but I've forgotten one other major player that determines a successful student athlete: the student themselves. In the New York Times editorial, the author belabors the point that being a student and being an athlete are not always compatible. However, the author fails to mention many of the successful student athletes that go on to succeed on and off the field. Let's look at the example of Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman is the cornerback for the 2014 NFL champions, the Seattle Seahawks. Sherman is also a graduate of Stanford University. While at Stanford University, Richard Sherman maintained a 3.9 grade point average. This demonstrates that when education is taken seriously, student athletes can find success both on and off the field. This claim that the author makes also ignores that students all across the board have issues balancing school with other responsibilities. The author's claim makes it seem that student athletes are the only people who struggle with balancing school and other responsibilities. However, in a 2006 study done by Sarah Thnonis and Gail Hudson of Arkansas State University, they reported that 39% of all college freshmen worked 16 hours or more a week. The point that I'm trying to make is that whether it's a job or being on the football team, it's difficult to find the balance between school and other responsibilities like work or sports. However, it's time to stop coddling student athletes and force them to take responsibility of their education. Now, let's review the argument that I've presented to you. The New York Times article fails to acknowledge that athletic scholarships make the idea of higher education even possible for some students. It also ignores the NCAA's continued effort to improve the academic honesty of its programs and the students' responsibility in seizing the educational opportunities afforded to them. Being a student athlete provides many opportunities to students who would otherwise be left in the dust. However, we as a society must remember the first word of student athlete: student.